Welcome to Inspiration and Transformation from the Banks of the Ganga with Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, an American sannyasi living at the Parmarth Niketan ashram in Rishikesh, India. Sadhvi is president of the Divine Shakti Foundation, a charitable organization bringing education, vocational training, upliftment, and empowerment programs to women and children. Sadhvi is also Secretary General of the Global Interfaith Wash Alliance and Director of the world-famous International Yoga Festival. Join the musings of an American sannyasi as Sadhvi shares the wisdom and teachings of her guru, His Holiness Pujya Swami Chidanand Saraswatiji.
Welcome, everyone, to Inspiration and Transformation from the holy banks of the sacred Ganga River in the land of Rishikesh, India. The question was, what is your feeling about the role of a guru in this age of heightened awareness of spirituality, accessibility of spiritual knowledge, science and technology? So we've got books, we've got YouTube, we've got everything online, we've got so many different classes and programs, CDs, trainings, certificates, and whatever you want. Enlightenment certificates, enlightenment classes, this, that, everything is there. I can only imagine how many videos on YouTube there must be about how to get enlightened in a 4-minute video. So it's all there. Do we still need a guru? And the answer is yes. And the reason that we still need a guru is that the knowledge has always been there. The gurus did not come into existence because God is somehow so esoteric or so difficult to reach that we needed someone to channel or translate. Connecting with God is not like learning quantum physics, where you really just can't wake up one day and get it. You really need someone who gets it to explain it to you. But God is not like that. God is not complex or esoteric or difficult or some sort of long equation. The gurus are here not because God is difficult, but because we are difficult. Because we live our lives with a veil of ignorance in front of our eyes. But we don't know it. And that's the game of the ego. We live our lives not seeing God. Not because God is not visible, but because of this veil over our eyes. So the role that the gurus play is not to bring God, but to pull that veil off our eyes so that we can see. The ego is incredibly insidious. And when we say ego, we don't just mean arrogance. We mean all of the games. Because it's not just arrogance. It can be the exact opposite. You can say, well, I'm the least arrogant. I'm the most humble. In fact, I'm so worthless that I wish I would just die. That's also ego. So the ego runs the whole spectrum of every concept we have about ourselves, from I'm the best to I'm the worst. I'm beautiful, I'm ugly. I'm brilliant, I'm stupid. The whole spectrum is ego. What I need is ego. I need this raise. I need this job. I need to marry this person. I need to have this child. I need to live in this place. I need people to treat me a certain way. I need to fulfill this potential that I have. This is all ego. Everything that pulls us out of just the consciousness of who we are is ego. And it's not bad. It just keeps us from seeing God. It keeps us from connecting with who we really are. Because whether I think I'm the best or I think I'm the worst, both of them are wrong. And both of them are keeping me from knowing who I really am. And so what the Guru does is remove the veil, remove the layers, so that we can see who we are. And then we know how to live. Because when we're living run by our egos, we always make a mess. Whether we end up fighting with people, whether we end up neglecting everything in the world to get ahead in business, whether we end up not fulfilling our potential because we don't even know what our potential is, because we don't know who we are. Somebody comes in and says, oh, you've got this potential to become the head of this or the CEO of that or the president of this. That's not a potential. What you've got a potential for is to allow the divine to flow through you in every minute, and has nothing to do with a career choice. It has to do with how we live from the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep, and even the moments we're asleep. That's the potential. Even if you decide your potential is to be a billionaire CEO, you're still selling yourself short. Because that's not who you are. And so what the Guru does is remove every ignorance that says who we think we are, what we think we need, where we think we're going. Remove the veil so that we can see the divinity in ourselves. And when we can see that, then we have a chance to see the divinity in others. And seeing the divinity in others is the only possibility we have for actually connecting with people. And for actually serving the world, for doing anything. So the Guru, the word Guru literally means the one who removes the darkness and brings light. So the Guru removes the darkness of ignorance and brings the light of truth. Who we are, what the world is, what our relationship to the world is, where we're going, how we're going there, who we are that's going anywhere. So the Guru brings light, not teachings that we can get in a book, not a certificate, not a course, not even a teaching, but the actual touch of having that veil removed, of having the darkness removed, to allow light to be in our lives.
You're listening to OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
Hi, this is Christina Ricci with RAIN. Every 2 minutes, another American is sexually assaulted. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, you are not alone. Help is just a call or click away through the National Sexual Assault Hotline. Please call 1-800-656-HOPE, that's HOPE, or visit RAIN.org. That's RAINN.org.
Brought to you by Rain and this station.
Welcome back to Inspiration and Transformation. I'm so glad to have you all back here with me. Question that came up this afternoon about how do we take this experience back into our lives? How do we maintain this balance, this divine feeling? It's one thing here in Rishikesh on the banks of Ganga, but how do we take that back with us? Well, the only way to do it is first to understand what it is here that feels so different. There's a part you can't take home, and there's a part we can take home. Now, it would be really nice if we could somehow take home the Himalayas, take home Ganga, take home Puja Swamiji singing the Arti. Unfortunately, that's the part we can't take home. However, the good news is that through all of those, actually what changes us is something that happens inside. Yes, the atmosphere is divine. Yes, we are in the lap, the cradle of divinity. But that which happens within us. And we go back. And so what is it that happens in us that we can take back? I'll talk about just a couple of different pieces. The first is that when we're here, most of us tend to be very, very present. Whereas when we're back in our other lives, we tend to be very, very distracted. Obviously, jobs, families, errands, grocery shopping, traffic, all of the stuff that the regular life is made up of. I know that. And yet, there's no rule that says you can only be present with peace. You can only be present in joy. You can only be present when everything is spiritual. You can only be present when what you're doing is seva and not work. The practice of mindfulness, awareness, presence, ultimately is actually something that we should take into every aspect of our life. And one of the things that I always share is the only chance we have for joy, for peace, for all of that which we're looking for in life is in this present moment. If you are not here right now, I can guarantee you're not happy. If you're not here right now, you're not peaceful. You may be sitting in Satsang in Rishikesh on the banks of Ganga in the lap of the Himalayas and the presence of a revered saint. All the ingredients are there. But if your awareness is not here, if your mind is somewhere else, I can guarantee that in this moment you are not experiencing joy. Because all of the ingredients are not enough until and unless we are also there. Puja Swamiji can be there, Ganga can be there, the Himalayas can be there, the ashram is there. But if we're not there, there is no joy, there is no peace. And so we are that critical element, our awareness. It's obviously a lot nicer and easier to be mindful and aware when you're sitting in satsang or sitting at Arti or sitting on the banks of Ganga. It's easier. That which you're absorbing feels good. You're being told you're divine. You're being told about God. It's a lot harder to be mindful and present when somebody's shouting at you. It's a lot harder to be mindful and present when you're stuck on the subway and the people around you reek of alcohol and are pushing into you. It's a lot harder to be mindful and present when you're doing a job that you know is of no benefit to the world. And maybe in some cases is even harming the world. But really the practice of mindfulness is such that wherever we go, whatever situation we are in, we need to be present there. The answer to those situations is not, how tightly can I squeeze my eyes shut and pretend I'm sitting on the banks of Ganga? That's what most of us do. Nothing wrong with it. It's a very normal and natural response. But it's not the highest level. Because the highest level of real spiritual experience is wherever you are. That's your present moment. That's your opportunity for joy and peace. Yes, you can squeeze your eyes closed and remember when you were at peace in Rishikesh. It'll make that moment slightly more bearable. But it's not actually going to give you peace and joy riding the subway or give you peace and joy in your office or boardroom. The only way to have it there is to bring your mindfulness there. And so the first answer is being aware. And being aware without judgment. So it's not that we're judging them, they're crazy. They're drunk, they're this, they're that. And we're also not judging ourselves. I'm stupid. I can't believe I made that mistake. I can't believe I'm stuck in this situation. I need to be able to handle it. I'm weak. All of the stuff we tell ourselves. So it's no judgment. The practice of mindfulness and awareness is literally we are just witnessing it. We are just witnessing it. And just allowing the moment to unfold. If you sit on the beach and you watch the ocean and the waves are stormy, you have a choice. You can jump in or you cannot jump in. When the ocean is very peaceful and beautiful, it's nice to jump in and have a swim. But when the ocean is stormy, we can stay very peaceful and calm and present with the ocean with our eyes open without jumping in. And when our present situations are like waves in the ocean, because tragically, your awareness and transformation is not going to make you go home and make your bosses and your employees and your family members and your social circle and your neighbors also suddenly miraculously transformed. They're going to still keep doing the same stuff that they did that made you realize you needed to get away in the first place. You've been here. They haven't. And yet, you have a choice to jump in that ocean with them or to sit high on a cliff watching the waves. You don't run away. You don't pretend you're somewhere else. But you also don't jump in. And that's very important. We have that ability. Pujya Swamiji always says we have to stop acting like light bulbs. Someone comes in, flips it on, we go on. They flip it off, we go off. That's how most of us live our lives. People around us flip us on and off, purposely, not purposely. And we, just like the light bulb, go on, off all day. So with that practice of mindfulness is the awareness that I have a choice in every moment. to jump in that ocean, to be this light bulb, or not. And that's what you're getting here. That ability. And that goes home with you. And the other piece is here, it's a spiritual place. You come into satsang, you're expecting that we're going to talk about spiritual things. You go from here to dinner. Maybe you talk about what was discussed in satsang. Maybe you talk about the yoga class. Maybe you talk about arti. Maybe you talk about your meditation. But in general, you're understanding that people are spiritual. So you're talking about spiritual things. You actually have that ability when you go back. I don't mean that you'll never go to the movies. I don't mean that you're never going to laugh about a TV commercial. But what I mean is that expectation in every situation. Instead of expecting the people around us to act just like machines, recognize that within them lies that same spirit that you're connecting with people here. They have that same spirit. It may not be awakened. They may not be aware of it, but it's there. And if you, when you go back, can connect with that in them, so lead with your heart, lead with your spirit, and try to connect with that in the people around you. It won't work with everyone. There's plenty of people who will look at you like you're crazy, who will say, don't talk to me like that. Your boss may say, just shut up and do what I tell you to do. I don't want to hear about God or spirit. Okay. You're not going to win them all. But what you will find is at least some people of a community. When we come here for satsang, the word satsang literally means in the presence of truth. It is an association of truth. Now here we're very blessed to be able to sit in Puja Swamiji's presence. But the association of truth does not require a guru. We're going to come back to that because the second question was actually about gurus. But to end this one, it doesn't require the presence of a guru. If you have a community of people, whether that community is 3 or 4 or 30 or 40, doesn't matter. You don't need 40 best friends. You don't have time to spend with 40 best friends. If you've got 2 or 3 people in your life, even one person in your life, with whom you can connect on that spirit-to-spirit level, that's enough. If you don't already have that person back home, find one as soon as you get there. They absolutely exist. But you've got to lead with the heart, lead with the spirit, be that magnet of what you're carrying back with you. And I guarantee you, whatever city or country you live in, as a magnet, you will attract at least one, if not more people, to be your sangha, to be your community when you're there. And that's very, very important because that will keep you able to be present with where you are and bring in all of the transformation that you've had without trying to make your employers or your employees or your spouses or your parents or your children understand the transformation you've had. And of course, lastly, we're always here. And so yes, some of us are blessed enough to be here long term. Others of you will have to go back. But remember, we're here. And it's not like getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden where it's sort of a forever thing. You go back, You do what you have to do, and then you come back.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM radio network.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Do you have time to read that inspiring book or that blog post you've been meaning to get to? In your busy world, how do you improve yourself and keep your life going? I'm Lisa Kay, and my Between Heaven and Earth radio show can transform your life just by listening. Be uplifted with inspiring topics, positive stories, and ideas that really work. Between Heaven and Earth radio is conscious living for your soul, every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Like Baldwin with People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. I grew up loving circuses and other traveling animal shows, but it never occurred to me what life might be like for the animals. Training wild animals to do things they don't understand takes force. Routine discipline with a hook or whip with the heel of a boot shows the animal exactly who's the boss. Don't patronize animal acts. Please contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati with inspiration and transformation. How do we change our perspective? By recognizing there's two pieces. One piece is the Jnana Yoga path, and the other piece is the Bhakti Yoga, the devotion. If we are stuck with our perception, if we are still stuck with that control and it's so hard to let go and be devoted, this is when we bring in the Jnana Yoga path. And we actually say to ourselves, okay, I've been running my life for a certain number of years. I've been trying to manage things for a certain number of years of my life. This is what, with my clarity of vision, I am able to see is the result of what I was doing. And it doesn't mean it was a disaster. I mean, on a personal level, I can look back at my life and say, yeah, it seemed to be going fine. Things seemed to be fine. And yet, what it didn't have was the actual experience of the bliss. It didn't have the actual potential for the peace, for the transformation that a path of devotion does. So you begin actually with a very rational approach to, okay, this is what my life looks like when I control it. And when most of us are very honest about it, what we realize is we don't do such a good job. We may be able to put things together on the external level. We can make money. We can build houses. But in terms of our deep inner level, we're not able, through what we are doing, to actually give ourselves the experience that we're looking for in our life. And that's when, whether we've had it with God or the Guru, or we still haven't had it, in either case, what we come to is an experience of, okay, God, I've done everything I know how. And it's not working. Now I have this leap of faith. It's like when you go to the doctor. Most of us hate going to the doctor. Some of us hate it even more than others. We all know people who, whatever happens, never will go to the doctor until it's really bad. I know for me, on a personal level, every time I get a cold, begins with a stuffy nose, get a little fever, I will do everything Ayurvedically I possibly can do to avoid taking any sort of allopathic chemicals. I end up going through jars of honey that I'm mixing with all kinds of different chordans for this and for that and this and that. Going through bottles of what looks like dirt from different types of plants, different colored chordan, gargling, this, that, the whole thing. Doesn't make it go away. At the end of the day, no matter what I do, I end up with bronchitis. Now, this is not true for everyone. This is a personal history of my life and my lungs, but I end up with bronchitis, and I end up on antibiotics. And yet, what I've done is wasted 2 to 3 weeks of my life in which I've had a fever, in which I'm not able to do anything because I'm sick. And yet, even though I know this is the pattern, it is so difficult for myself, for my ego, the minute I get sick to say, maybe I should be smart enough and take the antibiotics from the beginning, rather than wasting yet another 3 weeks of my life being sick and miserable. Because every time you think, oh, I can do it, this time I'm going to do it. And this is what happens in our life. We think, oh, I'm going to figure it out this time. I'm going to attain my peace, my joy, my enlightenment. I don't need anybody's help. And what most of us find again and again and again is we keep falling. And so you get to the point sooner or later at which you say, okay, God, I've done this enough. I know where this is going. Like I know where my cold is going to go. I've seen this. This is my pattern. You say, all right, God, I don't want to do this again. I'm now ready to admit I don't know the way. I don't know the answer. I don't have the tools. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. Just like it doesn't mean there's something wrong with me that for a whole variety of reasons, my lungs happen to be weak, I end up needing antibiotics. Doesn't make me a weak person or a bad person. Needing to have a guru, needing to have God in our life, does not mean that we're somehow weaker people. It just means actually that we're stronger, that we're able to admit, I can't do this. And since you are the one who's there, whether it's in the role of a physical guru or whether it's just to God, you are where I want to be. Carry me across this ocean. Help me get across. I'm drowning. I thought I could swim, but I'm actually drowning. And from that takes us then into the devotion. But we have to first understand that we're not going to do it ourselves. Because otherwise, relinquishing the control is very, very difficult. Unless you are really blessed and happen to just be born into a family in a world where there was juicy devotion from childhood. Most of us tend to be a little bit overeducated for that, a little over-indoctrinated for that, and we try to hold on. But eventually you realize it's not working. And that's when we shift into the devotion. Shouldn't be our last resort, but in many cases it ends up being the last resort. And the beautiful part about that is it's no less magical. It's not like God says, I know I'm your last resort. Or the guru says, I know you've come to me after trying everything. That's the beautiful piece. Is they never say, yeah, I realize I'm, your last choice. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether they're first choice or last choice, they're ready. And that's the grace.
This is OTR FM, part of the IOM radio network.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday 2 p.m. Eastern as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
When I broke my foot.
For leaving me alone when I wanted to be alone.
And now, as a grown-up, I'm thankful for being able to take care of you, my dear mom, for taking you to your therapies, for understanding that sometimes you simply want to be alone.
Roles change without us noticing. That's why AARP gives you the information to provide even better care for your loved one. Visit aarp.org/caregiving. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. This is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, and thanks for coming back and joining us for more of inspiration and transformation. The topic that was asked for today is the topic of devotion. What's the benefit of devotion? Why be devoted? Those of us from the West, devotion is a very difficult subject. It comes much more easily to people from India who are born and raised in this beautiful culture. But for those of us who come in from outside, we're not so used to a culture of devotion. And yet, devotion is probably the best answer to anything that ails us. Physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, in every aspect of our life. Here's the thing. We are devoted anyway. Even if you say, I don't want to be devoted, we are devoted. It's just most of us are devoted to our own egos. We're devoted to our own perception of how things are. We're devoted to getting our own way. We're devoted to enjoying our life the way we want to enjoy it. So we're actually already devoted. The problem is that we're devoted to things that lead us deeper and deeper into anxiety and depression. That was the other topic raised for today, is depression. Not having real devotion in your life is one of the easiest ways to be depressed. Because if all we are attached to, all we're connected to, all we're devoted to, is our own perception, getting our own way, our own egos, our own misunderstandings, our own achievement, where we are career-wise, where we are financially, where we are socially. I look better than someone else looks. I've got more expensive jewelry. I've got a better job. I've got a better situation. Or how to get it my own way. You should talk to me, act, live your life in the way that I want you to. If those are the only things I'm devoted to, it's a sure equation, a sure prescription for depression. So what real devotion does is real devotion takes us out of ourselves into something that is so much bigger, so much more eternal. See, our lives on the physical level, on the mundane level, are constantly changing. Sunny day today, rainy day tomorrow. Stock market is up today, it's down tomorrow. Everybody is nice to me today, they're mean to me tomorrow. If this is what I'm devoted to, my life goes up and down. But if what I'm devoted to and what I'm connected to is something that's eternal, something that's bigger, deeper, more profound than just this physical life, then it gives me a chance to actually plug in to what Pujya Swamiji calls the divine powerhouse. We really get a chance to be connected to that energy. And from that, everything is possible. Whether you look at Hanumanji, my favorite example is after the war in Lanka. We don't have time to go into the whole story of the Ramayana, but hopefully most of you are at least enough familiar with it to know we have the war. Hanuman serves as the devotee of Lord Ram and ends up being really like the hero of the war. He's the one who rescued Sita Ma. He's the one who helped Lord Ram win this entire war against Ravan. But at the end of the war, without going into the details of the Ramayana, but at the end of the war, when he's asked, how did you do it? I mean, Hanumanji is in the form of a monkey. How did you do it? How did you fly across the ocean? Because during the story, he performs all of these feats. He flies across the ocean to get to Lanka. He carries the entire Himalayas in his hand in order to bring back the herb that's going to save Lakshman's life. He holds the sun under his arm to stop it in its tracks. He makes himself enormous. He makes himself tiny. He does all of these miracles. And he's asked, how did you do it? Now, what does Hanumanji say? What he doesn't say is, well, you know, I've been training a lot at the gym and I've been lifting a lot of weights and going through, you know, this wonderful process to learn to fly. I've got the best trainer, the best coach. Or I got some magic herbs. A wonderful Vedya gave me the herbs of invincible strength. He doesn't even say, I've got some kind of a magic mantra. Nothing like that. What he says is very simple. He says, I just close my eyes and I take Lord Ram's name, I take God's name, and it happens. It happens. This is the fruit of devotion. This is the magic of devotion. It makes things happen. Now, it's not that it always makes things happen in the outer world. It's not that we become devoted with an ulterior motive of if I get devoted, then I too can fly. Hanumanji was not devoted so that he could do magic tricks. The miracles were due to the devotion, not the other way around. And many times it's internal. In our own life, you look at Mirabai, another incredible example, historical example of devotion. She's handed poison. But in that poison, what she sees is nectar, Krishna's nectar. Now, I love this on a personal level because it's the intersection of science and spirituality. It actually was poison. The bowl was poison. We have the history. This is not mythology. And yet, what matters more than actually what we're taking in is how we think about it. What matters more than what is happening in our life is our perception of it. And this is what Mirabai was able to do through devotion. She was so convinced through her devotion that everything that came to her was only Krishna. I mean, if there's nothing but Krishna in the world, then this bowl is also Krishna. There's nothing separate from Krishna. So what she was given, even though chemically, molecularly, scientifically, should have killed her. But her perception of it as nectar from Krishna was strong enough to overpower the molecular structure of the liquid. She gets given a basket of a poisonous snake. But again, everything is Krishna. So by the time she's got the lid off the basket, what's in it? A garland of flowers. This is the power of devotion. It literally alchemically transforms our lives. It is what carries us across this ocean when we talk about the ocean of samsara and we talk about how to break the bonds of this cycle of birth and death. How to get free. It's only devotion. It's only that love. You know, we talk about the practice of non-attachment, detachment as this great spiritual virtue. That if you want to go anywhere spiritually, you have to be unattached. And it's a question that comes up so frequently here. How do I detach myself while living in the world? How do I detach myself from things with my family or things with my job or whatever it is that's causing us stress and frustration and depression? And again, devotion is the answer. Bhakti is actually the mother of Vairagya. Now, what this makes us understand is that detachment is not a pushing away. It's not saying, I don't want to pay attention to these things in my life. I don't want to be attached. Because if my attention is just on that, then what I'm doing with my life is not being attached. I'm still thinking about it. So if we say, okay, I'm not going to be attached to my children, and all day long we chant this mantra, I'm not going to be attached, I'm not going to be attached. Well, my brain and my mind and my mental energy is still not being attached to my children. I might as well be attached. I might as well be attached to my job, be attached to my possessions, whatever it is I'm trying to detach from. If I'm doing it by trying to push that away, then my energy and my focus and my mind and my attention are just as much with them. So devotion again is the answer. Because through bhakti, we get vairagya. Which makes us understand that as we are devoted, rest-filled, juice-filled, beautiful bhakti, we actually reattach ourselves to the divine, to something that, as I began, is eternal, is so much deeper and more profound and higher and bigger than anything that we are stressed or worried about or attached to on this plane of existence. So by reattaching ourselves to the divine, in form, without form, with name, without name, it doesn't matter. Whatever we are attached to of the divine automatically pulls us away from the attachment to things here. And that's what fills us. So devotion is the key. In order to be devoted, though, we have to let go a little. Because the enemy of devotion is control. Control and ego. Because I cannot simultaneously be devoted to you, whether you as my guru, whether you as a being, whether you as divine. Divine with form, divine without form. I cannot simultaneously be devoted and trying to control everything. Every minute I try to control is a moment I'm not surrendered. And so, in order to actually bring devotion into our life, we have to let go of control. Control of how we thought the universe should be. Control of how we thought our lives should be. What we think we should get, how we think it should be. So that whatever comes from God, we are able to see as prasad, like Mirabai. And that's the transformation. It's not, how can I look at that bowl of poison and scream at God, scream at my husband, scream at my in-laws, scream at the maid who brought it in, and try to control it that way? No. How many people are we going to keep screaming at? How many people are we going to keep trying to change? The only way to change is to change our perception. And that's the fruit of devotion, is that it literally didn't change her husband, didn't change her in-laws, didn't change the maid who brought her the bowl, but it actually turned the poison to nectar. And that's what devotion does. This brings to a close this hour of inspiration and transformation. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm so glad to be together with you all each week. And I look forward to being together again next Thursday, same time, on OMTimes Radio.